Good afternoon or good morning for some, and welcome to the first APAC Town Hall for the Google News Initiative's Journalism Emergency Relief Fund. Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Amy Moon, and I'm on the News Partnerships team working on the Google News Initiative in the region. With me today on the call, we have Rohan Tiwari, who is the APAC Head of Partnerships for Media, News, and Entertainment, and he is also the head of the Google News Initiatives for the APAC region. We also have Sarah Hartley, who is a member of the Journalism Innovation Fund team, as well as Irene J. Liu, who is our APAC lead for the Google News Lab. So we're excited to be here today to discuss the Emergency Relief Fund, the application, and to answer any of your questions. So thank you again for joining us. Just to be clear, this is an informational session on the program itself, and so we'll be answering questions about the application process at the very end. Feel free to use the live chat function to queue up your questions as the presentation is going. And any questions that are specifically geared towards the press, we ask that you reach out to press@google.com. So now I'd like to hand it over to Irene to get started with the presentation.
Great, thanks so much, Amy, and hello everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. I'm going to just switch over to the presentation now. Great. All right, so today we are going to provide an information session on the Journalism Emergency Relief Fund. It is part of an initiative that was launched in 2018 called the Google News Initiative, which is Google's effort to partner with the news industry on a number of fronts to ensure a sustainable future for news. So we all are living in an unprecedented time, of course. So what is Google doing? In order to support the production of original journalism for local communities in face of this pandemic, we are working globally to provide an easily accessible route to financial assistance at this critical time. We know that the role of journalism is more important than ever at this moment. People rely on journalists and journalism to get high quality information about their communities. And we know the important role that you all play in fostering that ecosystem. So we want to be as supportive as possible. So going straight to the fund, it is a global program, but it is also open, of course, to many different geographies in Asia and the Pacific region. One thing I would like to note very clearly is that this is a 2-week window. We launched the program yesterday and opened applications, and they will close on the 30th of April. Now, depending on the number of applications that we receive, we reserve the right to extend that application process. However, we very, very, very much encourage all of you to apply as soon as possible, because this is a rolling application, which means that we will be considering and assessing the applications as they come in. So if you want to beat the crowd, definitely apply sooner. It's a very simple application process that we'll go through, but just really wanted to emphasize and encourage all of you to apply now. So this is also already on our website if you need to refer to it later on, but these are the different geographies that are eligible. Now, to be clear, in order to apply and be eligible for this program, your news organization must be registered or incorporated in one of these locations. If you are not incorporated, you must be physically present in one of these geographies. So going to eligibility. Who is this program for? This program is targeted for small and medium-sized news organizations. They must produce original news and with a focus on local communities. The reason is because, of course, we're facing a number of financial pressures all around, just in all the areas that are affected by COVID-19, especially news organizations. And we want to ensure that this fund is supporting the creation of original reporting focused on local communities. In addition, your organization must have a digital presence that's been in operation for at least 12 months. So if you have a print publication, if you're a TV broadcaster or radio station, you must also be online and have your own branded property online. So that could be a website or otherwise. In addition, you must employ 2 to 100 full-time employee journalists. To be clear, journalists mean reporters, editors, photographers, and others, and they must be employed full-time to qualify between this. It can also include for-profit or nonprofit news organizations, traditional legacy news organizations, digital natives, radio and or TV broadcasters. What is not eligible? Government-owned entities and individual people are not eligible to apply. This fund is also targeted to the creation of original news. So that means that organizations or publications that focused on things that are not news, such as lifestyle, sports, or business-to-business coverage, will not qualify and are not eligible. News organizations that do not have a digital presence are also not qualified, and they must fulfill the 12-month minimum of having a digital presence. In addition, these organizations that are applying must be at least 12 months old. So newly incorporated businesses that were formed in the past year are not eligible. So what's the process? In fact, it is a very straightforward and simple process. It should not take very long at all. You just apply online through an online form. The website is goo.gle/jerfund. It's a very straightforward application, and you should be able to do this in a matter of under an hour for sure. Applications, as I mentioned before, will be handled as soon as they come in on a rolling basis. So please make sure that you try to beat the crowd and apply sooner rather than later, because as we get more applications, of course, it will take us time to go through them. We will also notify you of success through email. So what information is required to actually fill out the form? It is quite straightforward. You need your basic company or organization information, including the date it was founded. You need to indicate the location of your news organization. You need to provide the website URL of your publication, so the web address. You also need to tell us briefly about the work that you will be carrying out to assist communities in crisis. All of these are required pieces of information, and we may follow up with you to require clarification or proof as a follow-up to after you submit your information. So, as I mentioned, this is an application form, but as with most things, we always recommend to prepare all your questions and your answers ahead of time. So there is a PDF of all the questions available. So we really encourage you to download the PDF, answer all the questions, perhaps in another document, and then populate your form after you've answered all the questions and have prepared all the documents. In addition, one thing we should note is that we ask that everyone please submit your answers in English. So how does the funding work? Funds will be dispersed in one installment, and we will make our best effort to go as quickly as possible once you have been successful. The funding is in the US dollars for the APAC region. Funding amounts will range from the low thousands of US dollars for small hyperlocal newsrooms up to low tens of thousands for larger newsrooms. That will be determined by the committee that is assessing the applications. And funding amounts will vary per region. So a few tips as you think about your application. Very important, read the terms and conditions and the frequently asked questions very carefully before you start. A lot of times already, of course, since we've launched the program, we've been receiving a lot of incoming questions. We will do our very best to make sure that the frequently asked questions section will be updated as much as possible to incorporate questions that we're getting very often. But many of the questions that you probably have are already in the terms and conditions. So please do read those very carefully. Again, download the application form ahead so that you can complete your answers, and then all you have to do is copy and paste them into the form. Very important, think through your description of how you are serving your community during this crisis. It's really important for us to understand what you're doing as a news organization to really support the communities that you operate in. Please note that we require only one application per newsroom, and we will not consider multiple applications from the same newsroom. And also, again, just do it now. Even though the closing date is the 30th of April, Singapore time, we really encourage you to submit sooner rather than later. And a few other notes again, no funding is available for non-news providers. Individuals are not eligible for this program, and government organizations are also not eligible. If you have individual questions about your specific situation for your own newsroom, definitely please email our email address, which is jerfund@google.com. The Journalism Emergency Relief Team will answer any and all questions that you have. And of course, please apply today. And with that, I'm very happy to take it over for questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Irene. So far, we have one question that's come in. And the question is a current awardee of the GNI Innovation Challenge eligible to apply?
The short answer is yes. If you meet the criteria of this particular fund, which is having 2 to 100 journalists in your newsroom, and you are incorporated in one of the geographies that were listed for the Asia Pacific region, you are absolutely able to apply. Does anyone else have questions?
Just want to encourage folks, if you're on the call and would like to submit a question, please submit a comment under the live chat, and we'll be happy to answer them.
So one question, while we're waiting for questions to come in, perhaps we can answer a few of the other questions that we've received so far through email and others. One of the questions that we had was, what qualifies as full-time journalist staff? And so the definition, as I mentioned, is really focused on reporters, editors, photographers, online writers and others, those who are in the editorial process for the production of news. And another question we had was, what if your staff is actually just over 100? Our suggestion is that you still apply. Those will be assessed on a case-by-case basis if you exceed the 100 journalist staff number. Do we have any other questions? Should we invite, Sarah or Rohan, if you have other questions that you've received incoming that you'd like to kind of preemptively answer, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the big differences, the innovation challenges was mentioned by the first questioner. One of the big differences between this emergency fund and the innovation challenges and some other programs is that editorial coverage can be funded, can be used for this. This is because obviously this is an emergency. We know that you need to cover this pandemic, get information out to local communities about it, perhaps about restrictions and other things that people are really changing their lives. So that coverage is eligible in this program, whereas it hasn't been in previous ones. So I just wanted to make that clear.
We've had another question come in from one of the folks on the call asking, is there any other funding opportunity for just newly established news organizations?
The short answer is this fund is not available to newly established news organizations, and currently the programs that we have announced through Google we do not have another opportunity. That said, the innovation challenge, there was an innovation challenge announced in North America, which is only for the North American geography, that is still open for consideration. But other than that, no. I would note, though, that there are a number of different organizations globally that are providing reporting grants and others, and they do not have the same requirements that this fund does. So really encourage you to take a look. I know for a fact that the Global Investigative Journalism Network has compiled a resource sheet of all the different funds that are available and clearly indicate where the where the geographies are for eligibility for those. So really encourage you to take a look at that sheet as well. Just go to the Global Investigative Journalism Network website, and they will provide a full comprehensive list of all those funds.
Another thing probably worth mentioning that's different to other programs that people might be more familiar with is the dispersal of the money. Because this is an emergency, the fund, this emergency relief fund, is a one-off payment. It's not ongoing in any way, just to make that clear as well.
So Irene, another one of the kind of common questions that have come in are folks asking about when they will be hearing back after they've submitted the application. So I know you mentioned it's a 2-week window, but maybe you can share more details about the timeline.
So essentially, as applications come in, they will be reviewed by the global committee, and as we receive and accept and identify successful applicants, they will be notified. So in fact, it is, as I said, a rolling process, which means that if you apply sooner, you will hear back sooner. So really encourage everyone to apply as quickly as possible. The amount of time it takes to reply back really depends on how many applications are in queue ahead of you. So this is why we're really encouraging folks to apply sooner rather than later.
Okay, great. So we have another live question coming in from the School of Writing asking, are for-profits eligible to apply? What should be the size of the organization?
So for-profit news organizations are eligible to apply. You must have a newsroom size of between 2 to 100 full-time staff journalists. That is the requirement. As I mentioned previously, if you have more than 100 full-time staff journalists, we encourage you to still apply. Those applications that exceed the 100 mark will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But to emphasize, these must be news organizations producing original news content targeting local communities. All right, I think we are at about 50 minutes in. If anyone has any fewer burning questions, please definitely, please submit them now. Otherwise, Amy, do you want to wrap us up?
Sure. So I just want to remind folks again that if you have any specific questions about your application, please email jerfund@google.com. We're more than happy to respond and to check out your applications. Again, just to reiterate, the window is open for 2 weeks, so please get in your application soon. And thank you all for joining. And you can check out more information on our website.
Thanks very much.
Any other last questions? No? Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone.
Oh wait,
Have a great
sorry.
day.
There's one last question. There's one last question. Just under the wire. There is. Are there any limitations to how the fund will be spent? Rohan, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure. I don't think the question is on the limitations. I think as long as the fund is being deployed for helping and enabling original news coverage, I think that should suffice as a reason. And what that means is that this could be taking care of people, this could be taking care of equipment, this could be taking care of coverage issues, technology, anything. As long as original news is the key area that you're looking at, and supporting local community and local news.
All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you all.
Bye.